This lesson is Define Classes and Methods in JavaScript. The objectives for this lesson are to understand how to define classes in JavaScript, include public properties within a class, develop constructors to set up properties, implement public methods that can be invoked. Within a page or a JavaScript file, you'll define a class using the class keyword. You can add properties and methods within the body of that class. You create an instance of that class using the new keyword, and that way you can access any public properties and methods using the dot notation. As you see here, movie.name accesses the name property, and you're assigning it equal to a value, in this case, Caddyshack. To create properties in the class, you declare property names within the class body. You don't use the let, var, or const keywords. Just put the name of the property that you want, and by default, those are now public properties, so you can read from them and you can write to them. You can also initialize them to a default value at the time that you create them. Let's take a look at defining a JavaScript class. Here's a sample HTML page. Down here under the script, you can see use strict. You should always be using that. And then on line 29 through 35, you see the class structure being defined. So you see the keyword class followed by the name of the class, in this case movie, and use that uppercase letter for the first letter of that class name. You then see 4 properties that I've created. So these are public properties. Then down on line 38, we can let movie equal new movie. So that creates an instance of that movie class. You can then set each of the public properties to some corresponding values. So movie.filmID is equal to the value 1. Movie.name equals Young Frankenstein. Movie.genres equals comedy. And movie.actors equals Gene Wilder, Marty Feldman. I then have this display movie info where you pass in a movie object and it will display the corresponding properties on the console window. This display movie info method is located in the script that I've included called moviehelper.js. If we go look at our scripts over here, we see our moviehelper.js. It has a function display movie info. Passing that in, you can then put the film ID, the name, the genres, and actors. So you're reading from those properties and displaying them in the console window. If we right mouse click here in Visual Studio Code, we open in the default browser and we go look at our console, you can see down here the film ID, the name, the genres, and the actors' properties all displayed in the console window. I'm going to show you 2 alternate class creation techniques in JavaScript. I don't see these used very often, but I wanted to let you know that they are available for you to use if you want. So the first one is to use the let keyword and specify the class name after the let and assign it equal to the class body. The second way is to use the let keyword and a class name, specify the class name after the let, and assign it equal to the class name. So in this case, let movie equals class movie class. So the thing with this class name, which is that second one after the class, the one highlighted in bold here, that can't be used anywhere. So I don't even know why you would do this, but it is valid JavaScript syntax. So anyway, let's take a look at these 2 declarations, knowing that you're probably not going to use them that much. So once again, I just have an HTML file here, and down in the script, you can see on line 29, let movie equals class, and then you put the body. So movie is the actual name of that movie class. And then down on line 38, you can do the same code. Let movie equals new movie, assign your properties, and display the movie information. So this is just an alternate syntax. And the other one, as you can see down here, is line 29, let movie equals class, movie class. Now that movie class, you can't use that anywhere. So I don't even know why you would do this, but it is valid JavaScript syntax for whatever reason. So just wanted to show you to you if you ever did happen to see this, just note that you can't use whatever after the class if you've done the let movie equals in front of that. Classes in JavaScript are not hoisted. That means that you must declare them prior to using them. So unlike variables that are created using the var keyword, they are not hoisted. So it's best to always declare all variables and classes before you use them. Let's take a look at an example here. I have a simple web page here again, and down in the script, look it down on line 40. That's where I'm defining the class structure. So class movie, it's all the way down here at the bottom. But up on line 28 is where I'm trying to create an instance of it. So let's go ahead and run this, open up our console window, and you should see that you're getting the error. It's a reference error, cannot access movie before initialization. So it's actually telling you what's going wrong here. You forgot to declare that movie before you tried to use it. As I mentioned, classes can have constructors. So a constructor is a method that runs when the class is instantiated, and we use the keyword constructor within the body of our class. It can have parameters or not have parameters. It doesn't matter. So let's take a look at a class with a constructor but no parameters. Once again, we have a simple little web page here. And down here now, you can see on line 31, I'm declaring my class movie. And in the constructor is where I'm automatically creating instance properties. So these are public properties. They're just like declaring them within the class body, but you are allowed to do it within the constructor. The only difference is you need to prefix the name of the public property you're creating with the this keyword. So this dot film ID equals 1. That automatically creates the public property called film ID and defaults it to the value 1. This dot name creates the public property called name and assigns the value young Frankenstein. Then you can see this dot genres and this dot actors. So you have 4 instance properties. So it's exactly like what we were doing before. The only difference is you're now creating them within the constructor. So once again, many ways to do the same type of operation within JavaScript. You can put all of them on the outside, take off the this if you do put them outside the constructor. Otherwise, if you're going to create your public properties within the constructor, just prefix this dot in front of them. After that, everything works the same. On line 43, if we do let movie equals new movie, and we display that information, we'll see the information that we defaulted on lines 35 through 38. But the properties are there. So on line 50, I could change that movie name, and I'm just using that name property to do that, and then display the movie info again. Let's go ahead and open this up in the default browser. Take a look down here in our console window, and we can see the first one was from the constructor initialization. The second group of these has the name property that's been changed to Caddyshack. Let's now take a look at passing parameters into a constructor in JavaScript. And once again, I have my web page, and within the scripts, line 31, class movie. Now you can see the constructor, and I'm passing in 4 parameters into that constructor: ID, name, genres, and actors. And I'm going to take each of those values, whatever you pass in, and assign them to those public properties that I'm creating here within the constructor. So on line 45, when I say let movie1 equals new movie, passing in a 1, so this argument goes into the parameter ID, then comma, young Frankenstein goes into the parameter name, and then comedy into genres, and Gene Wilder and Marty Feldman go into actors. On line 49, we're going to display that movie data. Then down here on line 55, let movie2 equals new movie, but I'm passing in a different set of values to the constructor, and then I display that. And then I have another one where I'm just going to say let movie3 equals new movie. I'm going to leave off all the parameters. That's fine. It just means that a null or undefined will be passed to each of those. And then line 65, I assign the film ID, line 66, the name, then the genres and the actors. And then I display each of those. Once again, if we open this up in our default browser and we take a look at our console window, we can see the 3 different movies that I created. Let's now take a look at creating methods in our classes. So methods are simply functions that you create inside of the class body. The same rules apply for naming and usage of functions as they do methods, but there's no function keyword that you use here. Methods, by default, are public, which means you can call them from any instance. For this example, getMovieInfo, you would create an instance of the movie class and then whatever that variable name is, .getMovieInfo. Let's take a look at classes with methods in JavaScript. So in this HTML file, I've got a script again. So now you see my class movie on line 32 is where I'm creating that. I then have the constructor into which I'm passing the 4 parameters and then assigning those to the instance properties. Then you can see here on line 43, I'm creating a method called getMovieInfo. And all it does is it returns the film information, a constant film ID : and then I use the this.filmID. So I'm putting that right after it. Then I do a new line and then a name : and then this.name and then a new line, etc. The other thing that I've created is another method called asJSON. And this method simply returns this, which is this current object, as a JSON string. If we now on line 53 say let movie1 equals new movie, passing in 1, Young Frankenstein comedy, and Gene Wilder and Marty Feldman, we can now do a console.log movie1.getMovieInfo. So now everything's self-contained. I'm returning the movie information that I'm getting now from within the object itself. I don't have to have an external file to say these are the properties that I need to do. So there I had coupling between this JavaScript page and having to use that script if I wanted to display the movie information using that display movie info function. Now I've encapsulated the movie information function and I'm getting it back now from calling a method. Same thing if I want to get that movie data as JSON on line 58, I can do that. I then created another movie instance here, let movie2, and then get that movie info and as JSON. Let's go ahead, open up here, take a look. We now see the movie information all in one line of that console window, film ID, and then a new line name, and then Young Frankenstein, and a new line. Then you see the JSON stringified. Same thing for the next one, film ID 2, name is alien, etc., etc. And then, of course, as JSON gives me the stringified version of that one as well. So methods help us encapsulate and help us get functionality inside of where the data is located that I want to do something with. So in this lesson, we created classes in JavaScript. We saw different methods of defining classes. We added some public properties to a class, created constructors with and without parameters, and created a couple of public methods. Coming up next, create class properties in JavaScript.